This was a man who came to this issue from the perspective of a libertarian Republican, a man who believed that government was better off staying out of most things. You know, as many of you know, what links the libertarians to the drug policy reform movement and all the people who embrace harm reduction in the drug policy reform movement is that we both believe that when it comes to governmental drug policy, the principle should be first, do no harm. First, do no harm. And this governor is going to go down in history as the man who broke this thing open. Would you please welcome Governor Gary Scott?
I have to believe that this country is founded on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I've dedicated my governorship to making sure that there's a level playing field, that there's equal access to that American dream. I believe in limited government. I believe in lower taxes. I believe in an eye for an eye. You do harm to somebody, whether that's violent crime or whether that's property crime, I think that you should be punished. I believe in individual property rights. I believe in the right to bear arms. I believe in a woman's right to choose. I believe in individual accountability and responsibility. I believe in the Constitution of the United States of America. I believe the war on drugs is a miserable failure. Governor, why is it that you're talking about this issue when there are so many other important issues to be talked about? Why are you talking about this issue? You know what, there is not a bigger issue in this country that is going unaddressed. When you consider, and I'm governor of the state of New Mexico, when you consider that 50% of what we're spending on law enforcement, 50% of what we're spending on the courts, and 50% of what we're spending on the prisons is going to the war on drugs, again, when we have all the needs that we have out there, is there a bigger issue in the country facing us today that is not going addressed? No, there is not. And of course, you're sending the wrong message, Governor. You ought to be ashamed. Anybody sending a positive message in this country when it comes to drugs? Anybody? Teachers? Politicians? Anyone? No one is sending a positive message when it comes to drugs, and yet 80 million Americans have done illegal drugs. 54% of the graduating class of the year 2000 will have done illegal drugs. What about kids, Governor? Wrong message. Shame on you when it comes to kids. Here's my message for kids. Kids, I love my kids. I love my kids. So I would hope that when it comes to kids, the message to kids is that we love them, that we tell them the truth about pot, we tell them the truth about others, we tell them the truth about others. 150,000 people die every year from their use of alcohol. I don't think that surprises anybody, and I'm not talking about drinking and driving now, I'm just talking about the consequence of doing alcohol. They estimate 150,000 people die every year. 100,000 people die every year as a consequence of legal prescription drugs. I was shocked to find out, and I ask people all the time, how many people died from cocaine and heroin? Well, when they find out that only 10,000 people died from that, I think they're kind of taken aback. And of course, you know, marijuana doesn't even make the list. And the response is, well, it's because of our policies, Governor. It's illegal. These are illegal substances. These are against the law. Wake up, Governor. That's why there's so few deaths. Well, baloney. Baloney. Overdose is a function of prohibition. If we can control these substances, we can arguably bring them and yet, wake up, America. Which one of these substances gets you arrested? And how many people are we arresting every year? We're arresting 1.6 million people a year. That is like the equivalent of the population of the state of New Mexico every single year. 800,000 of those arrests are marijuana. Out of those 800,000 marijuana arrests, 400,000 of those arrests are Hispanic. Tell me that half the users of marijuana in this country are Hispanic, and that falls very disproportionately on New Mexico, which has the highest percentage of Hispanics of any state in the United States. And blacks, and we've heard about it during this conference. I mean, if you are arrested as a black, it's seven times that you're more likely to actually spend time behind bars. So what do we need to do? Well, what we need to do is, first of all, we need to legalize marijuana. We need to adopt harm reduction strategies for all these other drugs. violent felons out of jail to make room for non-violent, drug-convicted individuals that need to go to prison because of mandatory sentences. Get tough for doing drugs and doing harm. Get tough. Marijuana is a gateway drug, Governor. Legalizing it is going to only lead people to using harder drugs. I say you legalize marijuana and you truly do away with the gateway aspect, because people, the guy that sells you marijuana now also has other things in his bag. Legalize marijuana, control it, regulate it, tax it, and you're going to do away with a huge gateway aspect when it comes to marijuana. You're brain dead, Governor. You're absolutely brain dead if you think that legalizing marijuana and these harm reduction strategies for all these other drugs isn't going to lead to increased use. That is an absolute fundamental flaw in what we're doing in this country today. We are measuring our success on the basis of use. And just for a second here, all right? If tomorrow morning in the Albuquerque Journal, when you get up, and it says alcohol use up in the United States 3% over the last year, what would you think? Who cares? Alcohol use we recognize is cyclical, it's up and it's down, but what we care about is DWI up or down? Is domestic violence associated with alcohol? Is that up or down? Is property crime, violent crime associated with alcohol, is that up or down? Why can't we apply that same criteria to drug use, to marijuana use? How many people believe that you, well, I ask this question all the time. How many people believe that you should go to jail for smoking pot, confines of your own home, doing no harm to anybody other than yourself? You know what? Nobody really raises their hand on that anymore, ever, anywhere. But then I ask the same group, how many people believe you should go to jail for selling pot? A few more hands go up. Selling a lot of pot, a lot more hands go up. I think there is a real hypocrisy here. Why are users any less guilty than the sellers? And there is an hypocrisy here, and if the sellers wouldn't exist, if they weren't for users. So in a way, I think that there's a whole myth surrounding the idea of pusher. That in all these transactions, it's always sellers seeking out buyers. And then I talk about student loans with people. How many of you think you should have your student loan taken away from you if you're convicted on drug-related crime, even if it's paraphernalia? A lot of hands go up. Well, you know, that's okay. I mean, it's the law, and if that's the law, why maybe you should get your student loan taken away. Would it make any difference, I asked those same people, would it make any difference if you found out that students who committed rape and murder or armed robbery or burglary still get their student loans? Yeah, it makes a really big difference. Legalize marijuana, and I believe that there will be overall less substance abuse. And so, Governor, I guess you want to make that. I was just on the radio the other day, Portland, Oregon. So, Governor, I guess you want to make the United States like Holland, with their skyrocketing crime rates and their skyrocketing drug use. That's what people believe. They believe that. Surprise! Wake up! Holland's experience. 60% of the drug use is that in the United States. That's marijuana and hard drugs, and that's kids and adults. They got 25% the crime rate, 10% the homicide rate, 10% the incarceration rate. Holland's experience would not suggest that there wasn't a better way. And I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for attending this conference, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your activism on what is the biggest civil rights issue in this country today, in this world today, and it's the biggest issue that will have the longest positive impact on the world. And I thank each and every one of you for being here.